The swamping that wasn't. The best part of Collier's Exodus is his analysis of diaspora dynamics. In plain English, Irish like to immigrate to countries that already have a lot of Irish. Jews like to immigrate to countries that already have a lot of Jews. And Mexicans like to immigrate to countries that already have a lot of Mexicans. Collier. The third big thing we know about immigration is that the costs of migration are greatly eased by the presence in the host country of a diaspora from the country of origin. The costs of migration fall as the size of the network of immigrants who are already settled increases. So the rate of migration is determined by the width of the income gap, the level of income in countries of origin, and the size of the diaspora. The relationship is not additive, but multiplicative. A wide gap, but a small diaspora, and a small gap with a large diaspora will both only generate a trickle of migration. Big flows depend upon a wide gap interacting with a large diaspora and an adequate level of income in countries of origin. I recently stumbled on an excellent example. Puerto Rico came under U.S. rule in 1898. 6 years later, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld Puerto Ricans' right to freely enter the United States. Gonzales v. Williams, 1904. Considered open borders by judicial fiat. Did Puerto Ricans swamp in? Hardly. Instead, the Supreme Court's decision sparked a century-long chain reaction. Here is the data, courtesy of historian Carmen Whalen. See Figure 13 in the accompanying PDF. Notice, when there were only a few thousand Puerto Ricans in the entire country, open borders led to only modest migration, but decade by decade, with an understandable hiatus during the Great Depression, Puerto Rican migration snowballed. In the end, you get what you'd expect from open borders. More Puerto Ricans live in America than Puerto Rico, yet this great transformation took decades. Not convinced? You see similar diaspora dynamics if you break Puerto Rican immigration down by state. See Figure 14 in the accompanying PDF. Look, in 1950 there were only 40,040 Puerto Ricans in Florida versus 250,000 in New York. Florida was far more like Puerto Rico in every way except for the lack of Puerto Ricans. The result, the vast majority of Puerto Rican immigrants in 1950 chose to freeze in New York with their own kind, then bask with the Anglos in the Florida sun. Florida eventually became Puerto Rican's second favorite state of residence, but only after the Puerto Rican population hit critical mass. Since the historic 1904 Supreme Court decision, transportation costs have drastically fallen, and wage gaps between the first and third worlds have grown. ID expect open borders to work their magic more swiftly today than they did a century ago. But the basic point remains sound. Open borders wouldn't lead to instant swamping. Instead, we'd see the Puerto Rican experience writ large. March 27, 2014.